S. Prager here, talking to an independent voice. I try to bring them to your attention whenever possible because we're living in the normal age, the age of the herd, and nobody is more herd-like than those in the medical profession. Talking about the response to COVID, I must say I've followed this more than any single issue, perhaps, at any given time in my life. I've been obsessed with the COVID issue and what has gone wrong. And I did not know of the draconian measures where you live in the Philippines. I'd like you to repeat that again. What did you say about people under 15?
People under actually 20 for the longest time were not allowed to leave the house in the Philippines. Only in the last few months has that been changed to under 15. So if you're under 15 and you leave the house and you don't have special permission from the mayor, you can, in fact, be arrested and subject to fines, punishment. It actually, I'm amazed, it made international news that a curfew violator, we also have curfews here. We've had curfews since the very beginning, 13 months ago. A curfew violator close to where I live the other day, get this, the curfew was at 6 p.m. He went out to get some water after 6 p.m. He was caught by the cops, and they made him do exercises until he died.
That's right. Yes, squats.
Turns out
300 squats. I do remember reading about it. And he went home and he died. He had a sort of a heart attack. Yes, I did read that story. So, I mean, without getting into the issue of the Philippines, which is a fascinating issue, I would like to get into, but I want to understand. I don't even understand the thinking. Why would the least likely to die of COVID be the ones forced to stay indoors?
Well, the theory is that they get out and about more than older people and therefore would be more likely to infect people. And, you know, it was an interesting theory maybe 13 months ago, but what we've learned since then is that these people almost never, they have the least chance of getting COVID. They have the least chance of dying of COVID, almost no chance of dying of it.
Right.
And therefore, because they have a small chance of getting it, they have a very small chance of transmitting it as well. Even if they do get it, there's this concept called viral load, which means if you get it and you're very young, you probably have very little virus. Even if you cough and sneeze, there's going to be very little virus in your coughs and your sneezes. So this is a group that it should be most mobile, the most allowed, if you will, to go about their business with the least restrictions.
Right, that's right. That's why I asked it.
This is all part of...
Michael, what has happened to the Philippine economy?
It's now crashed more than any Southeast Asian economy at the same time that our COVID cases per capita are the highest of any Southeast Asian country. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that authoritarianism doesn't cure COVID.
Yes, it does. That is correct. What is your position? I have no idea what your answer is. What is your position on the vaccines?
Okay, yes, they are experimental because they didn't get full FDA approval. That would have taken much, much longer. Some of these have never been used before. The mRNA is a completely different concept. So I don't blame, or I wouldn't have blamed people a couple of months ago from being highly skeptical. But you know what? All the people who every day are getting these vaccines, they're all guinea pigs. They're all, kind of giving information for the rest of us. And what I've seen so far is that the FDA did make correct decisions, that these vaccines, while they are not, don't have 0% risk, they appear no riskier than past flu shots or the MMR, and actually less risky than vaccines that, of course, have been yanked, such as dengue was yanked here. There was a flu vaccine back in 1976 that was yanked in the United States. It does happen, but it's not going to happen with these vaccines. If I were offered these vaccines, I would take them.
Good to hear. So what is the story on vaccines availability in the Philippines?
Virtually zero. What's happening is the government here will only distribute vaccines that have been donated. They will not buy vaccines. Well, if you're not willing to open your purse and make some purchases, you're really limiting yourself.
Well, we're
a country of 110.
And you're crushing your economy if you're not allowing the people to work. Your article is about obesity.
Well,
let's move on because I want people to know about your article. I could talk to you for a long time. By the way, Michael Fumento's article is up at DennisPrager.com. So you wrote about obesity and other comorbidities. Go ahead.
Well, as you remember, I had a book in 1997 on 1997. I'm sorry, called "The Fat of the Land," about how obesity was causing absolute havoc in the United States and elsewhere in the world, and basically being ignored. Since then, obesity has just exploded in the U.S. and elsewhere in the world, and so it's causing more morbidity than ever, more mortality than ever. It appears that obesity alone causes more premature death in the United States than any other illness. And yet it's been ignored for decades.
All right, I'm going to take more, obviously, with you. Michael Fumento's piece is up at DennisPrager.com. Hopefully he'll be able to go back to sleep after the interview.